Okay, I am delighted to have the opportunity to share with you a bit of information about the European Skills Agenda. My name is Alison Crabb. I work for the European Commission, the Directorate General for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, and my unit is the Skills and Qualifications Unit. We coordinate the work across the Commission on the Skills Agenda. So in the few minutes that I have, I would like to give you some first insights into the momentum at the moment at European level around what we can do for more and better skills. In July of this year, the Commission adopted the latest edition of the European Skills Agenda. This is a kind of policy compass or policy framework for working together in Europe on skills reform and investment. Why now? Why in 2020 are we coming forward with a fresh policy proposal on skills? Well, we don't have to look very far to see that the world around us is transforming. The way that we live, the way that we work, the way that we communicate are being transformed on the one hand by the greening of our societies and economy and by the digitization of the world of work and indeed our broader communities. This year, of course, the COVID pandemic has been an accelerator of these phenomena, calling on all of us to change sometimes overnight the way that we work, the way that we communicate, and the way that we interact in society. And that means a step change for a lot of us in skills. So we're in a challenging context. Of course, unemployment is on the rise across many regions and across many sectors. Different parts of the economy are affected differently. But that challenge also means opportunities to do better and to tackle some of the challenges that we have been living with in Europe for some time. On this slide, you see some examples. There's still a very strikingly high number of school pupils who are not doing as well as they should be. There's a high number of adults with still only low-level qualifications. And when it comes to digital skills, in the last research, we could see that almost half of the population still didn't have even basic digital skills. So it's time really to act, to make the most of a crisis and to make some progress on all of those challenges. In the skills agenda, then, our policy proposals for skills reform, it's all about skills for jobs. So setting a direction for reform and investment and looking for concrete change and commitments to get results. On the one hand, it's about business competitiveness, of course. Just as importantly, it is about social fairness, giving people the opportunity to build the skills they need for success in the labour market and more broadly, outside work in the rest of life. And that's very much one of the keys to building our resilience in Europe for whatever comes next. Economically or socially, skills are one of the keys to doing better. In the skills agenda, then, we put forward a number of ambitious objectives, calling on member states and other stakeholders, regions, cities, employers' federations, trade unions, community organisations to come together and work for change and to take us further down the path of skilling and reskilling. On this slide, you see some of the examples of the objectives that we have set. These are big jumps forward. For example, here, half of adults to take part in learning by 2025. That's an increase of about 1/3 in today's situation. And for the low qualified adults, it's an even bigger increase, around 2/3, if we achieve this target of 30%. We also want to reach out particularly to unemployed people, traditionally more difficult for them to get into learning, and to really tackle this question of basic digital skills. We've seen in the last months, we all need digital skills of some sort, both for work and for the rest of life. Through the skills agenda, we want to make that happen. Here you can see the 12 actions that we put forward in the skills agenda. Some of them are about, most of them are about skilling for a job. You can see some examples there. Some of them are about opening up lifelong learning, so really making a reality of the ambition for adults to be able to learn anywhere, in any learning environment, at work, in the community, in the home, in a formal education and training institution, but to keep building their skills throughout life. Some of it is also about unlocking investment, looking at spending on skills as an investment rather than a cost. What can we do about that, both with public money and with private funds? And a big part of it is also about joining forces, coming together in a so-called Pact for Skills to make concrete commitments for change, looking particularly at adults on the labour market. What can we do together to get more adults into learning? So I'll give you just a few examples of these in this presentation. One of the actions then is about national strategies for upskilling. What we see very often in member states is fragmented approaches. There's always efforts for reskilling and upskilling, but very often they're not as aligned and as coherent and as cohesive as they could be. And that means that they're less effective than they could be. So we're looking to get to a national skills strategy in each member state, and the Commission can work to support that, to support countries who want to go down that path. We're also looking at the important role of the public employment services. For most adults on the labour market, the public employment services are an important partner. This is where adults turn to often when they're looking for further training or they're looking for a change of direction. That network is already doing a lot, and we would like to come together with them to see what we can do across borders to multiply best practices and make sure that that network is reaching its full potential. We also want, through the skills agenda, to give a new push to training for the type of skills that we all need to make the most of opportunities, both digital and green. So some examples here, we want at European level, first of all, to clarify what we're talking about when we talk about skills for the green transition. What type of skills are we talking about? Some of them are specific to occupations, some of them much more general. If we have a better shared understanding of that, people providing training and learning opportunities will be able to align their efforts and work together more effectively and more efficiently to put forward a training offer that meets people's needs on that. On digital skills, for example, we would like to put forward a digital skills certificate so it's easier to understand across borders in Europe what level of digital skills each of us has. If we want to cross borders for work or for further learning, how can we demonstrate our digital skills? So a European level certificate could help with that. I also want to mention the new Europass. Some of you, I hope, have come across Europass in the last 20 years or so. The Europass CV has been with us for a while in Europe. This summer, we launched the new modernized Europass with a completely new look, but still free and multilingual CV service. Beyond that, and the so-called e-portfolio, online Europass portfolio for sharing, storing your skills, your qualifications, your certificates to build your CV. We're also putting forward for Europass users a lot of information on learning and working in Europe, linking people up with job opportunities that are suitable for them and pointing them also towards further training opportunities. So all of that is part of the new Europass, the tool for you to manage your career and your learning for free in all official European languages. Now, one of the comments often made around skills reform is that, of course, it doesn't come for free. It takes investment. It takes public and private investment, European, national, regional, local. All efforts have to come together to get change. At the moment in Europe, we're at the beginning or nearly at the beginning of a new budget period, and some quite significant resources have been earmarked for skills in this new period. 85 billion euro in, let's call them the classical programs. Some of you will know Erasmus or the Social Fund or the Horizon program. So taking all of those funds together in the next few years, we're looking at an amount of around 85 billion for skills investment. Importantly, though, we have a new resource, and that's part of the Next Generation Recovery Fund. And that is the Recovery and the Resilience Facility, so called, with very substantial amounts of money for member states to programme in their recovery efforts. Skilling and upskilling is one of the priorities there, and we're keen to help member states plan their investment decisions. That resource can potentially come in total to something like 670 billion euros. So a real game changer as compared to the funding in recent years that has been available at EU level. And we hope that member states will make the most of that. So coming to a conclusion on the skills agenda, I hope I've been able to give you a first flavour and a first look at the momentum underway at the moment to go to the next level of skills reform together at European level. It's a call to action. It's about skills for jobs. It's about coming together, sharing our efforts, and it's about making lifelong learning a reality rather than simply an ambition. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found the skills agenda interesting and looking forward to working together in future.
Dear all, I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about the Commission's initiatives in the area of vocational education and training, apprenticeships and adult learning. You have heard that on the 1st of July, the Commission launched the European Skills Agenda that will help us address the challenges but also grasp the opportunities that come from the green and the digital transformations. As we know, unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has seriously affected the way we live and we work and communicate with each other. It has also seriously disrupted standard education and training activities, including vocational education and training across Europe. The situation in that is further aggravated by the fact that practical training in form of work-based learning and apprenticeships was suspended in most sectors. The recovery from the COVID-19 crisis, however, offers an opportunity to accelerate reforms in VET and apprenticeships and in strengthening its resilience, notably by digitizing learning offers and methods and by offering a more agile adaptations to changing labour market needs. One of the actions of the skills agenda is a Council recommendation on vocational education and training. We are very happy that the Council will adopt this week the Council recommendation. This recommendation puts forward a vision for VET that is more modern, more flexible, inclusive, excellent, work-based, and that will help equip young people and adults with the skills they need for the labour market. To complement the Council recommendation, we will also have a declaration at political level that Member States and social partners will adopt at the margin of the Education Council on the 30th of November, which is called the Osnabrück Declaration. For some of you who may know this is in the context of the Copenhagen process, which is an important process of informal cooperation on vocational education and training at EU level. Another element of the skills agenda, and which is very strongly connected to the Council recommendation on VET, is the launch of a renewed European alliance for apprenticeships. The renewed alliance will call for new commitments on digital and green apprenticeships, focusing on the economic sector that will be at the front line of the transition to a climate-neutral Europe. We have identified 6 areas that we want to address in particular. First of all, committing to quality and effective apprenticeships and encouraging member states and companies to do so by fostering national apprenticeships coalition. The second one, very important, is incentivizing support to SMEs to provide a stable supply of quality and effective apprenticeships despite the difficult situation we are all in. Third, mobilizing local and regional authorities as catalysts for apprenticeships within the local business environment. We know that education and training happens at the local level, so we really have to work together in an ecosystem to make this happen on the ground. 4, very important, strengthening social dialogue. And 5, engaging also European sectoral social dialogue committees. And finally, supporting the representation of apprentices in the member states by relaunching the European Apprentices Network. Both the Vocational Education and Training Recommendation and the European Alliance for Apprenticeships will push for gender and social inclusion and also for internationalization of our vocational education and training systems. Another important initiatives that we will address under the skills agenda concerns adult learning. We all know that it's now imperative that we keep learning throughout our life. This crisis has only stressed more the need for everybody to have adequate digital skills, from the cradle to the grave, from the children who in school have been forced to homeschooling and so to use digital tools and digital pedagogies to learn, to our grandparents who have been forced to stay in the home and to communicate with their friends and with their relatives and with their grandchildren to digital applications. So it is absolutely imperative that we all keep adapting and learning. So we will work together with our partners and especially with the member states to see how we can really bring to life the first principle of the European Pillar of Social Rights, which is the right for everyone to keep on learning throughout their life and to access quality and effective training. One last action that I would like to mention to you is the Pact for Skills. This has been launched very recently, and I'm very happy to thank Santiago de Compostela for joining the Pact and showing their support to this initiative. For us, this is extremely important because it's a bottom-up initiative. It's an initiative that talks to organizations, any kind of organization. Of course, companies are very much involved, but also regional and local authorities or NGOs or civil society organizations to join in bringing initiatives that will boost upskilling and reskilling in Europe. But to give you a little bit more flavor of what the Pact for Skills is, I will now give the floor to my director, Ms. Manuela Gelling, who will talk to you more in detail about the Pact and how you can join it. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you a wonderful continuation of your day. Thank you and bye-bye.
In Europe, 70% of companies report that lack of skills hinders their investment. 1 in 4 SMEs reports major difficulties in finding skilled staff. Yet, only a bit more than a third of our working-age adults engages in training every year. This is clearly not enough. And clearly, it will not be enough if we have to manage the green and digital transitions, and if we want to support Europe's economic recovery. This is why, at European level, we have set a bold target, namely that half of our working-age adults should undertake training every year. We need a skills offensive. And that's why we are launching the Pact for Skills. We need you all to mobilize, whether you are companies, large-scale public-private partnerships, public authorities, social partners, or training providers. Whether you operate at the European, at the national, regional, or local level. Whether you belong to an industrial ecosystem, or whether you operate cross-sectorally. We really need your concrete upskilling and reskilling initiative. You are not alone. We are there to help. At European level, we will set up a networking, knowledge, and guidance hub. Under the networking hub, we will make sure that Pact members can engage with other partners, facilitate exchange, and share knowledge. Under the Knowledge Hub, we will organize seminars, webinars, peer learning experience, and we will make sure that the information about initiatives at European level or best practices is shared with you. Finally, in the Guidance Hub, we will help you with clear information on funding sources at EU level and how to access those. Indeed, the next 7 years, the EU budget and the recovery instrument put substantial funding on the table. Decisions on how to use that funding are happening right now. So I really would urge you to make sure that your country's national plans make the most out of these funding opportunities and invest in skills. So, I really urge you to make a concrete upskilling and reskilling commitment and to open up that initiative, not just to the workers in your company, but to open it up to your region or to your value chain, to exchange with your peers, and to make the most of EU funding. Please have a look at our webpage on the Pact for Skills, and I really look forward to work with all of you to making upskilling and reskilling a reality in Europe.